Welcome in to this Monday edition of Blue Sky Live. Here with you this morning, Chase Parham, Tyler Siskey, pinch hitting for one Neil McCready, who is in Florida, the sole chaperone of double-digit high school seniors. I don't know exactly how many kids Neil's in charge of, but it's a tall order. So Siskey here. We will talk some college athletics here for you today on a show brought to you every day by Blue Sky locations throughout the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55, throughout North Mississippi as well. They take care of you with Blue Skies, also with Sweet Daddy's locations, catering, lunch specials, plenty of options there. Ribs, pulled pork. Maybe you even use them for Father's Day. They take care of family events and much more with Sweet Daddies and all those Blue Sky locations. Neither one of us is in the Clark Ford studio, but Clark Ford's in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900. Corey wants to be your car guy, wants to be your truck guy. He will take care of you no matter where you are in the car buying process. Give Corey a call and see what he can do for you. And then all guests join on the Campbell Clinic hotline. Campbell Clinic on South Lamar in Oxford, pediatric specialist when it comes to orthopedic care here in Oxford. So again, that is the Campbell Clinic. Siskey, you sporting your quick U. What are you doing? You got FedEx on there on the shirt today? What are we doing? What's the?
I don't know. Yeah, we
You
got
got the
our
St. Jude
St.
Championship
Jude's.
today going?
Yeah, we got St. Jude's. I have no idea why I just pulled something out of the closet, and that's about how I roll on during the day. So just pulled it out, put it on, and here we are doing a little work. Already had our meeting this morning, and then getting organized. Been gone for a while, so I got about 800,000 catch up things to do, and then getting ready for the fun part of the year.
So, how many kids would you agree to chaperone solo at the beach in Florida before you're out? I mean, is it one or is it a higher number than that?
It probably depends on the crowd, right? I don't view it as how many kids. I would
This
view
this
it
is
as,
co-ed high school seniors, right?
yeah. So I wouldn't view it as how many kids total. I would view it as how many of them are going to be a pain in my ass.
Okay.
That would be how many of these guys am I actually going to have to chaperone? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like, all right, if you're a football coach and you say, hey, I need you to go with these guys to a public appearance.
Okay.
And you can send me with all the punters, all the kickers, all the O line, all the quarterbacks, the whole tight end room. I'll take them all. But if I have to go with just the D line, I'm out. You know what I mean? So,
That's a very big characterization there, Siski. Are you saying that from your years in the world of college athletics, you're very confident with that profile that you just
oh,
established?
it's 100%. It's D line, wide receivers, and DBs. I mean, that's 99% of the drama created on a football team comes from these three groups. It's defensive line number one, wide receivers number two, and DBs number three. The only reason that DBs are third is because they are secondary on their side of the ball to the defensive line.
Because I was about to say that. I would think in a vacuum, the DBs would be worse than the receivers if you were just simply.
Yeah, not really, because you got to remember is you got this selfish effect with the wide receivers that always complain that they don't get the ball enough. DBs don't care
Okay.
about getting the ball, so you kind of have that one big thing about the selfishness that's usually taken care of.
Okay.
So yeah, so it is kind of is what it is.
You're asking the stream. I don't think you're having a show this afternoon, to the best of my
So
knowledge.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think we're probably not gonna have one all week. Just to be honest with you, so we're in the middle of our June thing. 2 weeks ago was my fault. I had some life things that came up. Last week we knew was happening, so we're gonna get one in, and then this is kind of Neil's week. So yeah, I don't think so. I'll do some lives on TikTok and things like that, but we won't have a show.
It's also June.
It is June. It is
I
June.
mean, uh, I mean,
All month.
there's nothing moving right now.
Yeah, all month long. But I'll be around.
So I got several topics, but I thought that, and you made some post on this. You sent me a text. I was not aware of it, and then I put it up on the Ole Miss 24/7 Sports message board. I'm trying to refuse to say Inside the Rebels as much as I can because we're changing the name here soon. But yeah, no, it's awful in
I,
every
I,
capacity.
it's too early. I feel like I got to be real on my good. One, I'm on somebody else's show, so I got to I got to mind my P's and Q's, but two is too early for me to too early. I can't do it. It's like kind of like the FCC. There's like a certain time of the day. Like for me, it's like 2 o'clock.
So had that been McCready and Siskey at 4
Oh,
p.m. today, whole
yeah,
totally different deal.
I would have had a nice little response to you right there, but no.
So Harrison Luke picks up an Ole Miss offer in the past few days. That is the son of one Matt Luke, who has been very prominent in the Ole Miss program in multiple ways over the years. Currently, the offensive line coach at Clemson. A lot of offers for Harrison there on one day, and I told you, you get these moments as you get older. They happen more because you have more quantity for this to happen. But I was mentors or whatever that's called. I was one of the mentors at church for a bunch of confirmation kids not too long ago, and Harrison was in that group, and now he is getting college offers. And I went, "Oh my God!" Like it just sort of struck me because I wasn't allowing him to get older in my head. But you had some comments about coaches' firings, alma maters, just in general place that you have some emotional tie to, and sort of how you compartmentalize that. I guess, and I think you had spoken to Matt some during that day. Kind of take me through a little bit what you knew about Harrison's sort of situation there, and then also what goes through your head when it comes to a coach and a relationship and that kind of thing.
Yeah. First with Harrison, the thing, obviously, Matt's one of my best friends. Talk to him all the time. I was actually with him. I actually saw Harrison on Sunday, and then I again saw him, and I was with him again that day that all that happened. But I was in South Carolina, close to where Matt was located. I was actually I went by Clemson, got to see, went by their offices, got to see and visited with him, and on Thursday, and got to see Tom Allen as well, and Thomas Allen. Like your getting old moment is seeing Harrison. My getting old moment is seeing Thomas Allen. So that's Tom's son, who used to
Yeah.
we were together at Arkansas State, right? So seeing him, he's coaching now. He's an analyst at Clemson. So I was like, oh man, that makes me feel. I mean, he's already finished college. It's makes me feel old. Anyway, but like, so obviously, seeing Harrison grow up as a kid, he and my middle son are really good friends. And so Matt had sent me stuff. I don't know, like 2 years, starting like 2 years ago with him. He's been playing football. He's playing in Athens, and or
What
Watkinsville, technically,
positions he play? He's DB linebacker.
safety,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
and he's playing. David Pollock is his coach, or is one of the coaches on that
Okay.
team, and they're really good. And he had last summer started going to camps, and Matt had sent me some film, and I'm like, Matt, I was like, I know he's your son, and it's hard sometimes for coaches to look at their own kids and be like, hey, this guy's pretty good. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him, like, Matt, it's like, he was doing a W drill, which is a DB backpedal plant drill. And I was like, Matt, he's really good. And he's like, I think Matt may have thought I was like trying to be his friend. But Matt knows that I'm not that guy. It's like, Matt, he's got a chance now. And so really over the last year, he quit playing baseball and he went full tilt into football training and everything else. And he has gotten on this thing. It's called, and not a sponsor, but I'm definitely going to, because I think it's awesome. It's called a shred mill. All right. So it's a treadmill that's kind of got this. I saw it when we were at Clemson. They actually had one. It is a treadmill that's kind of arced a little bit, and it doesn't, you generate the power, like you generate the motion and the way that it runs.
Yeah.
And
One
I
of the
don't know.
self-propel treadmills. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's at this unique angle. It's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
U that goes uphill.
Yeah.
And since he's been on that, his explosion numbers have literally exploded. And he went from, I mean, and Saturday so he'd gone down and he's been playing safety and he's been like looking really good and doing some things. And then he went and tested. The guy was a 10-9 broad and a 40-inch vertical. Like that's insane. Like that's the top 1% of college athletes do that. You know what I mean? Like
Really?
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
that's nutty. That's what he did. I guess he did that Thursday, and once those numbers came out, he that's all. That's the only thing that people needed to, well, you can't pass on that. Like, So that's one thing. Two is Harrison is going to be a very coveted recruit for a lot of programs. One, because he's a coach's kid, and what I mean by that is he gets it, like he knows the game, So you're not going to get the drama. You're not going to have the D line drama, right? So you're going to get somebody that's put together, so he understands the game and understands how it works. But two is this: he's not going to be showing up. It's refreshing for coaches to, hey, you're telling me I got a guy that's got a 40-inch vertical and a 10-9 broad that's not going to ask me for 500 grand every 5 minutes. Like, that's refreshing. You know what I mean? And he's going to be mentally and physically tough, and he's going to do what I tell him to do. Oh, sign me up. You know what I mean? And so he's going to. I imagine. I think he picked up Tennessee over the weekend. I mean, he's picked up a bunch here recently. So he's going to be a really good player. I'm excited. I'm excited for him. Because there's no elevator to the top, and he has worked his ass off to get to where he's at, and just really, really excited for him. And it's awesome seeing good things happen to good people. He's a great young man.
Maybe you said this, but where was he at when he did this?
Georgia. He was at Georgia's camp. So he he went and did a 7-on-7. Oh, this is what's crazy. He went and did a 7-on-7, I guess the day before, 2 days before, with their team, and they asked him to come back and do a private workout.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, okay, I can come back Thursday. And so I said, this is it. This is his moment, right? And so he goes and practices. Like, they had full workout at the high school. Like, he had already worked out, and he goes to. So he's getting a car to go to Georgia after he had already worked out with his team. I'm like, oh, don't do that. You're going to kill all your numbers, and he evidently didn't. And I was with his dad, and he called, and he's like, "Hey, what do I need to eat before I go?" And we were trying to coach him up, and he's like, "I don't know how to do that." So he had an Uncrustable and a thing of yogurt, and he goes out and does that. And so as soon as the numbers came back, I was like, wrote in my notes: feed kids Uncrustables and yogurt. It must be the great combination or whatever. So I think we're going to buy stock in those and start just pumping them to all of our kids.
So this is I don't want to make this about Matt or about Harrison, but you made a post on the board that I thought was really interesting just on coaches' mindsets. Because Neil and I talk a lot about when you coach your team, your own school, you're an alumnus. Mike Shula flamed out at Alabama. That went pretty poorly there at the end. Matt, because of it being his alma mater, I don't think gets probably the credit for stabilizing the program that you guys did with that at the time. It gets more complicated just because everybody's preconceived notions on perceived nepotism or anything else that comes with that. As a coach who has been multiple places and saw how everything even shook out with Matt, even though I'm not necessarily specifically talking about that, where does that sort of lie down the road with a coach being frustrated at a school or a staff, or the possibility of where your own headspace comes in for what you would have your kid do, or anything that lingers on beyond the actual coaching tenure?
Yeah, you're not like, you got to remember, like, so when you had your good times, right, or when you had whatever it was, your bitterness or your anger really lies with individuals associated at that time with the university, not the university itself, if that makes sense. So, like, example, my bitterness towards Auburn is associated with Tommy Tuberville. Well, he's not even there. He was a coach that's there and gone. My bitterness is not with Auburn University. I had great experiences at Auburn. I liked Auburn. I went to school there. My wife was a graduate there. My wife was a gymnast there. She graduated from there. I did not, because of Tommy Tuberville. But my bitterness sits with with individuals that were associated with the university, and it's the same thing here at Ole Miss. I have no issues with Ole Miss. I like Ole Miss. Hell, I still live in Oxford. I have nothing. Now, I have some issues with individuals associated with Ole Miss, and then they will come and they will go. But it's not with um, it's not. And then with my main bitterness is with somebody that wasn't even associated with Ole Miss when all this. It was like he had been associated with Ole Miss for about 5 minutes, so
Mm-hmm.
my actual bitterness was with somebody that just became associated with the university, and so it's you don't hold it towards the university, and then you get now with the fans. I think somebody had asked me about some fan stuff on there. It's with very few fans. It's not 99.99% of them are great. Um, there was one guy. The only issue I had with any fans, me personally, and I don't like the stuff that people say on social media, or that's part of it, right? You sign up for that. That's kind of like whatever. The only one that really set me off here that I would like to throw punch the guy, and it took a lot of restraint for me not to make a scene. I in the fall of 2020, everything started opening back up after COVID. We had been fired before that. Well, I was obviously still here, getting ready to start my business, and it was during the fall, and my wife and I went to dinner at King's. I don't know if King's is still open. I don't even know, but King's Steakhouse, which is out by the airport, right? So it was a Friday night before the game, and that was one place before games. I knew that was an easy place to get in, right? So we go out there and go sit down to eat dinner, and they sat us at a table right next to a guy who was a quote unquote booster of the program. I don't really call him he considers himself a booster, but he never helps do anything ever.
Ah,
So I
okay.
don't know. Like I was being nice to him, like by calling him. I'm being nice to him, calling him that. He never helped in one way. He made people think he helped a lot. He never helped at all, ever. So they sit me next to him and his wife, and the lady that sat us down as we walked by, I kind of did the wave, "How you doing?" And I get up to go shake his hand. He wouldn't shake my hand, and then I sit back down. I
So
was
he
like,
literally
"This is
just like looked the other way, just down, like
like I'm
nothing.
standing up next to him," and he kind of just like looked away, and then he grabs the hostess that sat us down and said, "Asked to move tables," and they moved, and he got up and him and his wife moved tables. Like that right there, that pisses me off. Like, like that's ridiculous, And so yeah,
But
that's
you
the only.
can keep it separate that it's just one asshole, not.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Every
yeah, yeah,
coaches can,
yeah.
yeah. You can separate. It's business. You understand, and you get it. I mean, it's part of it, and and you wish things were handled differently and all that stuff, but um, it is what it is.
Reading from the chat here, Leif Chase. I was reading College World Series coverage and athletic, and they asked about best atmosphere where teams played this season. Murray State said Swayze. Not a surprise there. Regionals have to help with portal recruiting, right? Minimally. I mean, sure. I guess. I mean, doesn't hurt, but there's these things called paychecks and opportunities. I wonder if you have a thought here. Ole Miss has picked up 4 portal commits at this point. Two pitchers, kid from Missouri yesterday, Will Lebert. They picked up Grant Richardson, the very coveted pitcher out of Grand Canyon, left-hander. They'll have to dodge the draft a little bit with him. Daniel Pacella, a premium outfielder from Illinois State, have to dodge the draft a little bit with him. And then Tristan Becerra coming from Clemson. He's pretty banged up, but's got some pop. Kind of a high reward, low risk sign there. Nothing that's going to break the bank or anything else. I feel like, and you might not have any knowledge here, but I'm curious if you do because you obviously are in this world. I feel like sometimes football and basketball amounts and portal activity are even more than we hear from time to time on what kind of gets out there and some of the crazy numbers that prove to be somewhat true. In baseball, it seems to go the other way. I hear some crazy freaking numbers where I go, yeah, that kid's not getting that. That's not what this is because baseball just simply on the whole doesn't have that level of cash flow, especially now that NIL has to be quid pro quo to whatever extent. So my question on this is, do you feel like it's like this in every sport, or is baseball more apt to look at opportunity, to look at development, to look at some of those things? Because Ole Miss got a couple of these really premium guys without being the highest bidder. Kid wanted to start versus relieve in one instance. And then in one instance, it was Joel Mangrum, the Ole Miss pitching coach, obviously was the minor league pitching coordinator for the Guardians. Has had a lot of success with certain profiles, getting guys draft ready, and that elevated the Rebels beyond just simply being the highest paycheck.
Yeah, I think baseball is totally different. I think one is the the stature. of the SEC, when you think about baseball in particular, the SEC's footprint, the SEC's magnitude in baseball is much higher than it is in the other sports because
Mm-hmm.
there's other leagues, right? You got in basketball, you have the Big East, you have the Big Ten. You have certain programs in the ACC. Like there's more programs in those in basketball. Same thing in football. You have the SEC, but you also have the Big Ten. But then you have teams that will spend, across different leagues, right? So I think with baseball, I think it's the SEC kind of sits by itself from a magnitude and going to be on TV, national TV all the
The whole
time,
deal.
and
Yeah.
right. So I think that from a recognition and every single from a development standpoint, every single game that you go out there, there are going to be scouts or whatever. You're going to get the attention every single week, as opposed to if you're playing, like the Murray State coach. It was awesome. He said the other day in his College World Series interview that they don't even charge admission to their games.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a part of that in baseball. If anybody does spend, it's in this league, right? If anybody is quote unquote a big spender, of course you got your few outliers out there, right? But most of it is in this league that spend any money, which I'm sure we'll get into at some point in time. For this show's over, since Neil's not here, we don't run matches. But this house settlement, I get we say it's going to get thrown out or it's going to do this and this, but right now it's the rule. So until it changes, however long it is, I don't know, you don't know, nobody knows. However long it takes for it to go through, baseball, you can't be good in three sports anymore. You're going to have to pick and choose what you do and how you're going to do that. And I'm kind of curious on how long it's going to fit, but baseball, right, wrong, or indifferent, baseball is going to be very tough to fund. And I think that's why you're seeing, hey, here's what we're going to do, though. Here's what we're going to do for you, baseball. We're going to let you go from 11.7 to 34. That's what we're going to do for you, or 35 or whatever that number is. Now I
34,
can't
34, 34.
remember. All right. We're going to let you go. So that's going to be like your NIL is we're going to pay for your school for all your guys. So I don't know. I think that has probably a combination of things.
Okay, you brought it up. And yes, Ole Miss is going to fully fund the 34. I think a lot of schools will fully fund the 34 inside the SEC. I don't think anybody's going to go less than 25. I think even Missouri will go to about 25. I don't think they're going full 34. But you mentioned it, and I'm glad you brought that up because yeah, Neil has some impatience when it comes to that a little bit right now. I think that's an easy way to put
I
it.
don't
And
I
it and
don't
it
blame him, though. I don't blame
no
him.
no no I
I
don't either.
have
I mean, light
I
away,
have
light the
impatience.
match away.
Yeah, I have impatience for it as well, and I have to deal with it like after we get done with this podcast, within 20 minutes I'll be on the phone talking about this with a client. So I get it. I
So when
understand.
you say you can't fund all three, do you mean because of the overall amount of money necessary, period, even if you could push everything through Deloitte, that simply to fully fund all three the way you would need to be nationally competitive at an elite level would require, 40, 45 million, whatever the number is you want to pull up there? Or do you mean it's going to be impossible for schools to just crazy run up that number that has to be approved by Deloitte because you need real contracts that have to fit inside that? Because from a revenue share standpoint, baseball gets crap here. I mean, think about it. It's less than 5% of 18 million. I mean, do the math. I mean, that's not even close to what these schools have been paying in NIL. I mean, not even taking out the Tennessees and A&Ms of the world. The average SEC school has had 1.5 to 2.5 in baseball NIL. That still requires a good bit of secondary NIL money in addition to rev share just to even fund at that level.
Yeah, for me, it's more of how things are getting allocated rev share wise is going to be
Okay.
so low in baseball, and it really all the other sports. Okay, is going to be so low. Even basketball is going to have a problem too.
Well, think
Uh,
about that. I mean, yeah, real quick, doing that math.
yeah,
15% of 18 is not very much money compared to these rosters in the SEC that are probably 7 to 9 million right now in totality.
correct. So from a when you see the money that the elite players are getting in other sports, okay, like when you're talking about like the softball pitcher at Texas and at Texas Tech,
Hmm.
she got $1 million and things like that. The amount of money that is going to be given rev share wise, as opposed to NIL go, is just it's not going to meet the current right, wrong, or indifferent. Is not going to meet the current right in football too. Now we can talk about it when you want to talk about it, but there's ways to manipulate that a little bit and get creative with it, and that's kind of what I've been dealing with. But you're not going to be able to manipulate those numbers in rev share because it's such a small percentage of the pie. Everything is going to have to be NIL go. And while you're probably going to get more participation from those other sports, your market value is not going to um, be that of other players. Particularly basketball's got a chance to be the most marketable because their face is seen. But you're still not going to get as much as you need to. And like I said, there's ways to manipulate the NIL go with your rev share. But the other sports are going to really suffer. And compared to what they're currently paying, like basketball is going to be in big trouble come a year from now. And I'll make sure I reiterate this. No fan is going to recognize, I want to make sure I'm very clear on this. You're not going to see any effect for this next year. Okay. So this whole 25, 26 season, you won't see any effect. It'll be for the rosters moving forward in the 26 and 27 season where there's going to be a major issue.
So why? And then whether it be football or another sport, how do we manipulate NIL go?
Why it's going to be a year is because everybody is front loaded and used
Yes.
and has been front loading these payments to
But that
where
means the payment has to come now prior to July
correct,
1st.
correct,
Yeah, okay.
correct. And so they're able to front load everything now and get out in front of it to where they can use that money and the rev share to get to kind of what they were last year, right? And then so you're going. I mean, I know teams that have completely fun. Like there's so many ways, different ways people have been preparing for this, right? Is there's been people that have tried to front load everything. Like football teams have tried to basically pay their entire 25 football team through collectives, right? And front load everything. And they're saving that, if let's call it the median, right? The median is like 13.5 million. Some are more, some are less, but let's just call it 13 and
Percentage
a
of
half.
football rev share to catch people up. Yeah.
Yeah. The 65% median. Okay. Again, I know some football teams that are 90%.
Oh,
Chase, how do you think their baseball team and basketball team is going to be, right? Right. So they're going 90. I know one of 80 that's 86. I got a 90, I
really?
got an 86, right? So how well do you think their other teams are going to be, right? So, but they're able to save that money on that rev share money because they've already paid for their 25 football team. Then they're going to be able to use that money in the second half of the fiscal year. So that would be January of 26 to build their 26 football team, and then the other rev share comes in at 20 in July of 26, and they can add that on top. And so some football teams you may not see the effect for 2 years.
Okay, Professor Siskey, I'm raising my hand here from the class. For that to be the case at a school that the ability to do what you just mentioned, that would have required though a school to have that much money sitting in their collective bank, and there can't be too many schools that actually had that because most collectives were operating month to month.
Well, the other thing is they raised a lot of numbers were not high, right? So everybody naturally goes, "Oh, there's 20 million mark." Well, they wasn't paying their roster 20 million anyway, so maybe
Ah,
they
I
were
see what
only
you mean.
paying them
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
10. Okay, so maybe they were only paying them 10. So they go out and raise money or whatever it was, and then they're able to save and make that jump, right? So
Gotcha.
it's really easy for the teams that were not spending. Like it would be very difficult, which they could do it now easily, but it would be difficult for a Ohio State, a Texas A&M, a Texas to do that, but they're able to do it, right? And that's where that number, like that Texas report that they're spending all this money on the roster. Remember that number that report that came out a
Yeah,
few weeks
yeah,
ago? I think a
yeah.
lot of that got confused in that how they were doing things, and they started adding numbers the wrong way, not understanding the full truth and the information. I said on our show, it's not quite that, but it's close. And so there's ways to do it that way. How I would do it, how where there's a big hole in this thing. Okay, well, there's a big hole in this thing. Is you got to do the work. Okay, that's always been the hard thing, right? Is like I had this conversation with my brother-in-law the other day. I was like, it's hard for normal working people to understand this, and I get it. I have a tough time with it. You could tell there are players that you could say, "Hey, I need you to come." They've never had money, and all of a sudden they get money, and then they got a big substantial amount, and then you're like, "Hey, look, I need you to come do this commercial shoot, and you're going to get $50,000. It's going to take 6 hours of your day on a Saturday," and they'll be like, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I want, and you're like, "What? Hey, I need you to go to the mall and sign some things for
I
2 hours,
know.
30 grand," and they're going to be like, I don't know if I want to do that or not. They just want the money for playing football. They don't want to do the other stuff.
That's why they
And
want rev share money. You got crap you got to do.
right. So that's a lot. It's easier said than done. But what I would do, I think you can move your number. Let's say your number is 13.5 million, right? You can move that 50 to 70%. You literally run your entire team through NIL Go. And then once a month, you have autograph signings or whatever it is, and you're going to be able, some players will get higher market values, but you'll be able to cut a lot of their salary through a collective by, like, if the collective organizes that, right? So if a collective organizes some version of a fan day, going to sign autographs somewhere once a month, you just have whatever it's your off day or whatever it is, you have that set up to where they go and they can get those payments legally, and that expands your market value, your cap, basically by 50 to
But you've got to
70%.
have that amount of money in the collective side, though.
Yeah, but the ones that it wouldn't be a problem for the Grove Collective to get that kind of money. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like it wouldn't be a problem for the SEC programs and the bigger programs to get that kind of money in their collective, because it wouldn't even be what they've been raising so far. There are ways to kind of expand your cap a little bit, particularly in the bigger sports. Basketball could do it, but from football standpoint of just signing memorabilia and things like that, that's quick, easy money. And you could have a day once a month, where you have appearances or whatever it is, and you run your whole team through it. And then what you don't realize, though, is like there are players on your team that may only be making $100,000. Well, you can pay for all of their stuff through the collective by doing that, and it adds money to your back in your rev share that you can go and pay the ones that don't want to show up, basically the good ones. And so you can there's ways to manipulate it. The one that I think is going to get sued to oblivion, the part of it, and again, I say that I don't know, is what about I brought this one up. I said, what about the 41 states that allow high school NIL?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is some confusion amongst teams on when a player is uh, starting NIL Go. Is it when he signs or when he enrolls? Those are two different dates. If it's when he enrolls, then once he signs,
You
little
can pay him whatever the hell you want.
there's ways to manipulate it, right?
If
But
it's
the
in the
problem is,
41 states.
just saying, that's a lot of states. And there's ways to that's what I do, I guess. You give me the rules and I'll find the gray area, but there are ways to manipulate it in the right way, if but I was talking to a SEC guy the other day, and GM, and look, at the end of the day, and he said it best. He's like, look, all this stuff we're talking about, rev share and all this stuff, and the future of college athletics is going to be with this college sports commission, is going to be how well they police NIL Go, and how they are transparent about it and all that stuff. That's where this is either going to work or not. It's going to go right there.
Do you think they're actually going to hardline the market value, or do you think they're simply going to enforce paperwork and some level of quid pro quo? And as long as you kind of act like there's something in place, they're going to let it go. What
Well,
what
first
what
of
what,
all,
what do schools think the mindset is going to be?
I don't think this is going to be as big of a deal as everybody thinks it's going to be. One, because it's not for All right. So if Chase Parham, if you go and you're playing shortstop at Ole Miss as a lefty, right? So you're going to play there, and they're going to say, like, let's say Bank of America wants to give you $2 million for a commercial, and I don't think they even care about that. What they care about is if Realtree comes in and says, "I'm going to give you $2 million for coming and going on a hunting trip,"
Hmm.
because of the relationship with Realtree and the school, right? And so they're
But that's going to
trying.
be 90% of them, though. They're going to be some relationship with the school.
Agree,
Yeah. Okay.
agree. And so, but there are, again, there's a million ways to jump the system, right? So, like, I'm not associated with a school. My company's not associated with a school, right? So, what if a third party booster comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you 5 million bucks, and I want you to sign these guys up on NIL deals." I don't have a relationship with the school. So there's ways that things are getting around this NIL go, but it's going to take it's kind of the situation we're in now. It's going to take a booster that's expecting no return on his investment, right? So
Well, that's a guarantee. Yeah. 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 I mean,
that's I understand that. So,
we're doing a
but
lot of money laundering in different ways. It just chooses how we decide to do it. I mean, come on.
yeah,
Just saying.
so at the end of the day, that's what it's going to take. But however,
And there's
this is
probably going to be some values that are just okay because they're not enough to matter. Like, I mean, here's an example. Like you mentioned, Realtree or whatever. They call me and go, "Hey, why don't you do a podcast with this basketball player once a week? We'll sponsor it. We'll pay the kid $50,000 for the season." I'm just making something up. That's probably not even enough to make anybody give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I probably don't have to prove that that's worth $50,000.
correct. It's going to be the ones that are you're trying to pay for the. All right, if just trying to think of one. If Austin Simmons they wanted to give him $3.5 million next year to do a podcast. Yeah, they're probably going. Wait a minute now. You
They're
know what
gonna
I mean?
ask for
Like,
some analytics on that bad boy.
correct. So it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be as a big of a. And with quarterbacks, it's going to be. That's the thing is with quarterbacks from a market value standpoint, it's not going to be as big of a deal. It's going to quarterbacks. That's not a good example. The good example would be, hey, I want to give this left tackle $700,000 to do a podcast. They're going to be like, no, And so it's going to be. It's got to be for work. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as everybody thinks it's going to be. At the end of the day, all they're trying to do is they're trying to keep boosters from buying teams. Is all they're trying to do. That's it. I mean, they don't
Well,
care
yeah, that
if
is absolutely what they're trying to do. There's no doubt.
how well it's policed and how well it's now. I think it's interesting who they hired to run the college sports commission. He's a fixer. I mean, he cleaned up baseball from steroid use. So we'll see.
All right, two more quick questions, and I'm getting off this because I'm getting tired of it now. I kind of hit my limit after a while. Um, how long is Deloitte going to take to actually decide these things? Because if there's a huge lag, kind of like the old NCAA clearinghouse, then it's putting every school in a weird spot.
45 days is the number that they've said so far. I don't know how
Okay.
long. I don't know if that's their limit. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's. We'll see. Come July 1st, I'm sure. I don't know, but they're going to have a lot of work to do on July 1st, I imagine.
And then the second one is it just a freaking honor system? What if I just pay a kid NIL and don't report it?
Well, I mean, I don't think you're going to want to deal with the repercussions of that because eventually it'll come out.
Okay.
There's bank
I'm
statements.
just,
They got subpoena power. How about that?
oh, they do?
Hmm.
How?
I don't know. I just work here. I have no idea. I was told that by 4 different people.
Are you
I just work.
are you incredibly glad, or is there a part of you that's like finding loopholes and competitive that wishes you were still on staff in this era?
Um, Probably a mixture of both.
Okay.
I like finding loopholes and telling other people the loopholes, and then going back and playing golf and hanging out a lot
Okay.
more than. then I mean, I was finding loopholes literally sitting on the boat last week, so I didn't hate that.
Oh, really?
And yeah, so I don't hate that. Yeah, it's when you when all your buddies are just grinding, dying, working with official visits and all that
Yeah,
stuff,
no
and
thanks.
you're on the boat drinking Diet Miller. Yeah, I don't. Life don't suck.
Leif asked earlier, his kid was wanting to know some exercises to beat him in arm wrestling. I asked ChatGPT, and they said wrist curls, reverse wrist curls, hammer curls, wrist roller, and static holds with fat grips or towel. So that is the answer there, per
Lots of arm
ChatGPT.
exercises.
A lot of arm exercises, a lot of wrist, a lot of forearm. You got to do some pull there.
Yeah,
Who were you pulling for yesterday in the U.S. Open, Siskey?
man. I don't know. It wasn't even really. I was just glad to see JJ Spawn do something to win the tournament.
Instead, everybody just lose the damn thing.
I didn't like. I like Sam Burns. I think he's a good dude. I
That
didn't want.
ruling was complete horse crap.
It was, but
Complete
they
horse crap.
It was, but they were doing the thing where his was, but how many other people had just hit it, after the break, it had the same situations. And, I get it. I get it on both sides. It was horse crap, but it's also the USGA. And then, you're going to let them play it up. And then when all these other people had played it down the whole tournament and out of divots and everything, because there was a lot of people hitting out of divots yesterday, right? So, because of
Mm-hmm.
the last couple of days, because they were all the collection areas were all the same. But, um, I hated to see Sam. I mean, like Sam Burns and Adam Scott in the final group went combined 17 over. That's tough to watch. That's tough to watch. And and then you knew when they came back after the rain delay, just hitting it in the rough. How I mean, it was already impossible. Now you're going to add about 4 inches of water in that. I mean, like it was. I mean, it's fun to watch like pros struggle that much, but you don't want to see somebody lose. That just sucked, but I was glad that somebody just said, "Hey, I'm gonna go win it." And JJ Spawn hit what? I was 120
It's a
something foot of putt.
hellaciously hell of a shot, and then goes went birdie birdie, hell of a shot into 18 or into 17, and then sinks the putt on 18. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean he hit 100. I think it was 120 something foot of putts in the last 7 holes. So, like, you like to see that, somebody going and winning it. And then he's a journeyman. And, the cool story is seeing, he's won once before, but like this guy was like, he struggled. He struggled for a while. He was like, you like seeing redemption stories. He was on the verge of shutting it down, quitting. I mean, he's
mm-hmm.
36, 35, 36 years old. Said he watched the movie Wimbledon last December on a plane ride, and it kind of related to him. And then he misses the cut at the Memorial, hires this guy, this putting coach after that, and then he just goes out there and hits 120. Like that guy, somebody's life had changed. That coach is fixing to get every call in America. And
Uh,
I mean, this guy basically a guy couldn't putt for nothing, and then 2 weeks later, he's making 124 foot of putts in the U.S. Open to win it. Yeah, I'm sure his phone's ringing a lot today. But
every
uh,
every PGA Tour head case calling that cat, going, "Hey,
oh, well, you forget. Like I'm not going to say who it was or anything like that, but there was a guy. There's a PGA Tour player who's won multiple times. Okay, he is friends with one of my friends. I don't know him,
okay,
but he said he was one of my coaching buddies, and he said he's like, yeah, he goes. I said something like, hey, your guy's doing good today. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I saw that. He goes, he called me about a month ago and asked me, he's like, hey, who's that sports psychologist y'all use? Because I think I need one. I mean, this guy's won like, I don't know, 5, 6. I'll look it up real quick who it is, but he's won several times on the PGA Tour. And you're like, this guy he's won 6 times on the PGA Tour.
really?"
Yeah, he's won 6 times on the PGA Tour.
And he needs a mental person.
Yeah, and you're like, man, you're like, what? I mean, he makes cuts every week. You know what I mean? Like he's a solid player on the PGA Tour, and you're like, wow. I think he was in. I know he was either last year or year before. He was in. He was. at Eastlake. I mean, the guy can play. And you're like, that guy needs help.
But
I
you're
mean,
constantly chasing the next level. I mean, it's like any sport. I mean, you can't. I don't think you can. You're hardwired, and you can get to that level while also being content to stay at whatever level you're at. Like you're
yeah.
trying to be the next thing.
What I don't understand is like what I can never. Somebody I saw somebody in the chat said most relatable PGA tournament in recent history. It was relatable because all the high numbers, right? And they were struggling. But
Mm-hmm.
what I can't relate to is somebody like when Tiger Woods, who is the best that's was ever played, decides to do a swing changes when he's on top, going right after the best run of tournaments in the history of the game, and it takes it takes those guys a long time to come back. Like
Mm-hmm.
I understand when, like Ricky Fowler, goes through swing changes. I get that, because he's struggling for a while, but this dude was like, I don't. That's the part I don't understand. So if like Scotty Scheffler decides to do a swing change, I don't know what to do. Like the guy, he played as bad as he could play, and he was still in contention yesterday. And you're just like, this guy's pretty good.
He's obviously exceptional. I do hate what's happened with the live, where we don't have the full fields to kind of completely gauge him.
Yeah,
He's not at least being somewhat challenged by Bryson week in week out. I mean, it's not disputing his greatness, but it feels odd at the same time when we start trying to compare to any other era because of
yeah.
that.
You got right now on live. You got Bryson. You got John Rahm. You got Joaquin Neiman. And you saw him yesterday, which I've thought he was a really good player for a long time. But Ortiz is a really good player, young player. He was pretty good before he left to go live, and he was in it. But people like it's amazing to me is like Ortiz is a great example. I mean, I'm a big fantasy golf guy. I play every week, so I was very familiar with him before he left. And he was walking in yesterday. Okay, like when they were showing, how they show the golfers arriving at the course, he was walking side by side with Sam Burns walking in. And the NBC cameras show, and maybe this was purposeful, I don't know. But all they did was talk about Sam Burns. They didn't talk about the guy that's like shot or
Really?
two off the speed walking in next to him because they don't even recognize him because the
Uh
guy's
huh.
been on CW for 3 or 4 years. You know what I mean? Like you don't even recognize the guy, and people thought he was probably just a caddy or something, and just walking side by side with him. They don't even mention, oh yeah, the other guy walking in with him is in the group in front of him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it was kind of a hopefully they get it worked out sooner rather than later. I'll be interested to see. I don't know if you've even thought about this. I'll be interested to see when the live contracts are up.
Which is
And
soon.
Brooke, yeah, if some of the guys come back, like Brooks Koepka, like there's another one that could have given, over the years. I'll be interested to see if some of those guys come back.
I forgot one thing on other topic, and it's related to two different parts. We all keep talking about state punting football or punting this or doing this. Are there, and forget state, it's not, I'm not asking a specific question. Are there schools that'll just go all in on basketball? Major schools?
Big East.
No, but I mean teams with legitimate football programs.
I don't know.
Or at least what does that look like? Like, what is the range in NIL for a school that goes, hey, we want to make sure our basketball and baseball are there because we just don't think our football ceiling is 11 wins either way? Like, how much really would the percentage even change?
10%.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody that's kind of off that 10% off the median. I mean,
So
still more
1.8 to 2 million bucks.
probably, yeah. Like
Okay.
you're seeing 10% probably difference. Um, I know of one, the lowest school I know. I'm not going to say who it is. The lowest school I know is giving like 57% football,
That's low.
and then but they're also trying to fund two other sports. And then
Now, what are
so
they doing with their NIL go money on top of the rev share
I,
percentages?
I don't know, but I don't know. Yes, it's too. I haven't talked to them since, but it'll be interesting to see how people attack it. But a lot of that is based on you know trying to be competitive, you know, in those sports. The ones that I'm interested in is you take schools like Auburn, take schools like Tennessee, take schools like Texas that are extremely serious about basketball and baseball
Mm-hmm.
and football. Like I want to see how that works. Like I don't the teams that are like, hey, we're really good in baseball, really good in basketball. I think there's enough percentage to be moved around there, but we're not great in football. It's the ones that are really good in football, but are also trying to be really good in the other two sports. I think it's just going to be really difficult
I mean, Ole
to
Miss has
manage.
got to figure it out. I mean,
Yeah, that's so like the old Ole Miss has definitely got to figure it out, right? So you got Chris Beard who's taking the basketball program to new heights recently, and then right, wrong, or indifferent, I'll be interested to see because the Ole Miss fan base likes baseball more than they do basketball. Now they're starting to come
mm-hmm.
around a little bit, but I don't think at this. There's only about 4 or 5 places you can say this at, right? But Ole Miss is definitely one of them, and something's got to go. You know what I mean? Somebody's going to take a hit. Who is it going to be? And again, if the system lasts any time, it could be over. We could be talking about this. It's like wasted breath. You could be talking about this and then something changed, and going all the way back full circle to when I was talking about teams that were saving that rev share, trying to you know add it up. I brought up the point. I was like, well, what are you going to do, and what are you going to do the next year when you don't have when it all catches up with you, because eventually it'll catch up with you, right? And I was like, what are you going to do then? He goes, well, two things: either one, I won't be here, or two, there'll be some other different system in place by then. I was like, okay, that's a hell of a gamble.
So you mentioned the Big East. What happens when the SEC schools get passed by the Big East because they just put all the damn money into basketball? They aren't gonna let that happen. So what changes?
Say that one more time.
Well, if the Big East has schools that can actually do 20 million or 18 million in rev share and 16 million goes to basketball, what then happens? Because the Big Ten and the SEC is not just going to simply let the Big East run amok in that sport.
They may not have a choice.
No,
I don't, they may not let them, but I mean, you and I both know that you got 16 million to spend on basketball, and this other team's got three. Eventually, you're
I
going to get
know who's
past.
winning.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, you got Johnny transfer guard from Duke that wants to go somewhere, and he wants to go to Tennessee, and then Tennessee's like, okay, buddy, here you go, here's 300,000, and then UConn goes, here, buddy, here's 3 million. Where do you think he's going? I mean, you can't compete.
Now, some of those schools won't have 20 million to give. Most of them
No,
won't because they
well,
simply don't
but
generate enough to have that.
enough will though. Enough will, because you got to think. I mean, enough will.
Matt's got a good point. Says pretty much within the first 45 days, we'll get a lawsuit and then potentially an injunction will be implemented. I know that anything could happen at any point, but is there a certain number of days into this where you think maybe there is a little bit of at least moderate staying power if something hasn't happened?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't. It's so fluid that, like, my whole point was this: is like, I agree there's going to be lawsuits. I agree there are going to be all kinds of things, but I mean, it's not like they're going to walk into court on Monday, and by Tuesday there's going to be, oh, you're right, here we go, we're going to change it.
Well,
That takes
somebody has
time.
to be denied first anyway because there has to be damages.
Yeah, and so like it's going to take time. I mean, the hell, this house settlement, how long did it take? Well, we went through
Yeah.
seasons. You know what I mean? So how long does this last before they, and I've said the same thing. I'll continue to say it. All this to me is Band-Aid on bullet wounds. I mean, look, the only thing that's going to save this to get it right and is breaking off collective bargaining, employee and contracts. I mean, everything else we're just pissing in the wind.
Did you watch the 10-1 loss to the Rockies last night or yesterday, Siskey?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. Was not pleased, but it is what it is. It's what happens when they just death by a thousand cuts. It's just very frustrating, as Bray's saying.
What do you want them to do? Soft sell?
No, I want them freaking compete and win. They got
Okay.
they got the they don't need they got the players to go do it. They just got to. I mean, Strider hasn't been pitching well. He did the other day, but he's coming back from Tommy John. They're getting Schwellenbach's been good, Sale's been good, and then they got three guys. You would tell you what I don't understand. I really don't understand this. Is why is Trevor Bauer not allowed to come back in the Major League Baseball at this point in time? Why is he being
Well, it's
blackballed?
it's one of two things. It's either Major League Baseball has been able to tell every club no and it stay quiet, which means at least 60 people have all agreed not to say a word. Um, or it's they think. I mean, it's almost kind of like the Colin Kaepernick thing. They do not think his ability is higher than his distraction level.
Well,
Right?
I wouldn't say I wouldn't say. I mean, I get it, but like
Well,
I
he's
wouldn't
cheap
mind.
as hell. It's only what was it cost? 700,000 to sign him, I think.
I wouldn't mind as a Braves fan and put Grant Holmes back in the bullpen and bring Trevor Bauer out. That wouldn't bother
Just
me.
see what happens. I mean,
Yeah, enough times passed. I mean, we let a lot of guys perform, that have shady past. You
oh,
know,
I'm with. Look, I'm with you. I mean, I think there's no way to me he is not one. I mean, I don't think there are 175 better starting pitchers in the world.
I mean,
I'm doing math.
I mean, I wouldn't bother me as a Braves fan. I'm sure it wouldn't bother Rockies fans if they rolled him out there as a fifth starter either. I mean, you'd probably. How about the Marlins? I bet their attendance would go up by at least 50 people. They'd double their attendance every night. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? I mean, I don't know. I just there's been a lot of shady. Like the thing that's always bothered me about this whole like holier than thou blacklist thing that athletes go through.
He wasn't actually found guilty of anything.
Yeah, was completely exonerated of all charges. Is the people that fans adore, the people that fans just think are better than they're just the greatest people, are some of the worst humans on this planet. Like some of the worst humans, and they
You have
get
a
away with
couple in your mind right now, don't you?
it. One in particular. I mean, they just adore. They think, oh, this is the greatest thing. Build the statues, and if they knew half of the things that person did, they would never do anything ever again. But they just get away with everything. It's kind of like the kid that just gets caught stealing out of the cookie jar, but they don't realize that the
Mm-hmm.
other kid they think's great is over there freaking shooting people. I mean, you don't ever know. Bothers me.
Thunder going to cover the 9.5 tonight.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, I ain't touching basketball. NBA basketball spreads? Are you killing me? Are you kidding me? It's like I was like, it's the other night. It's like they ended up winning what about 5 or 6 the other night, whatever it was.
They won by
And
7, and there was a 6.5 hook where they'd been losing the entire night.
yeah, it's a free throw contest, man. The guy for the Pacers goes and misses what like 5 or 6, 4 or 5, whatever he missed going down the stretch from the free throw line. It's like, come on, man, this is the NBA. It's like it turns into the NBA. The NBA, those are two great teams, and they played their ass off. It's almost like watching the U.S. Open yesterday. Yeah, I hate to see it come down to free throws at the end, but it did.
Grind says, Siskey, how you feeling about my Texas A&M to the CFP at plus 250?
All right. Here's the deal. I'm gonna do it. I'll do it every year. I'm the guy. I'm the guy everybody makes fun of every year. And Chase and I are completely opposite people in this. All right. Every year it's just like I think I'm heels in. I'm
You
just dug
see
in.
the bells and whistles, and by God, you're in. I mean, just.
Sooner or later I'm gonna be right. You know what I mean? It's like
Well,
I mean
okay, but if they make it 1 out of 13, it still doesn't mean
oh
their program was
I
worth a
don't under-
crap.
I don't understand it. You know what I mean? There's two things in college football I don't understand that don't make any sense to me. One is Texas A&M, like they should be really good. They got great coaches, like they got great players, they got great funding, they got everything. Everything check all the boxes, right? And then so you're like, okay, it's time, and then you're like, won't, 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 and then it's every year. So eventually I don't know. I guess I'll be the guy again this year. I don't know. That and then Texas Tech. I don't understand why Texas Tech can never play away from Lubbock. I don't. And it's not a coach. It's been coaches for like a long time, and it's almost like they're traveling across time zones and stuff. I don't even know what the deal is. It's They don't play well away from home, and then they play like gangbusters at the house. And Texas Tech is a team that I'm going to be again. I'll be the guy. I'll be the guy. I'll be the asshole. I'm going to be extremely surprised if they're not the Big 12 representative in the playoffs.
Well, yeah, because you can buy a Big 12 championship, and they are trying to do that right now. I get that.
Again, they got to they got to figure it out away from the house, right? So that's been like a 30-year problem. That's not like a recency problem.
You'll be kind of proud of me, Sis, the other day, because I did it by just not having an answer. I was doing an interview with somebody from a student newspaper, and they asked me a bunch of just college football questions for the year, and I was rattling off a bunch of Ole Miss stuff, and they said, "Hey, give me a player in the SEC that's going to surprise people or something." And I don't know, like my mind was not working, and in my mind went, you know what? Siskey and all these guys at some point are going to be right, and A&M's going to be worth the shit. So let's just say Marcel Reed and see what happens. And I just went with it, and I went, you know what? Like all I need is A&M to go 9-3, and I don't look like an idiot. So
Yeah,
hey,
it's the 8-4 mark you got to get over, right? But
uh huh,
like the interesting part about Marcel Reed is, he's never been a starter from day one.
yeah,
So and then once he became the starter last year, what does the offense look like? Like they tried to play catch up a little bit last year with a lot of the quarterback runs and things. How does that? He's got two things. Is he's got to what does the offense look like with him being starter? So they've planned for him to be the starter all year because you're obviously have more quarterback runs, more RPOs, and things like that. And then two is this: is he does have to he's in the same boat as Lenore Sellers. He's in the same boat uh, with my guy at Florida, Lagway. Is all three really talented kids and have arm talent, but they have to fundamentally get better as passers from the pocket. They're so good. They're such good athletes that when everything's on the move and they're moving around, they athletically do things really well. When they're when they go into robot mode, hey, I'm hitting the
mm-hmm,
top of my drop. I gotta gather, get my balance, and let one rip. Like they have bad hand placement on the ball, it causes inaccuracies and uh, passing game, sells the ball a lot. They're just not great pocket passers. And you're going to now. There's two ways to do that. You can coach around it, but there is going to be a time in the game. Third downs do happen in games. 3rd and 7+, that does happen, and then they make these throws. You're like, ooh, what was that?
mm-hmm.
And then so they all got to improve better as in the pocket and improve fundamentals.
So where are you putting A&M in the SEC likelihood to make the college football playoff?
Oh, I mean, I think you got Texas. I think you got Georgia. I think you got Alabama. I think you got LSU, and I would put them just right up underneath that.
Okay.
I don't think they're in that upper tier, but I think they're in that second tier of teams that it wouldn't surprise me, But again, it goes back to this whole thing: is what is the college football playoff now? Are we a race to 10 still, or are we looking at schedules and things like that? That'll be my question, because if you're in a race to 10, they're going. That's the whole thing with football. It's the only sport. It's the only sport out there that it's about how many wins you have. Last year, I'm saying last year, it's about
Mm-hmm.
getting how many wins, and then the big fallacy in college football right now that drives me insane, and I guess I'm the only one that it drives insane because nobody else either doesn't think about it or doesn't care. When you release the polls, you're the ones that you're actually working off of, like the real polls. When you're the ones that this is our college football playoff committee, this is our top whatever. When you do that so early, there are teams that get rewarded for wins that at the end of the year we don't ever backtrack them. When that team that they beat that we
Yeah,
jumped them
yeah, yeah.
spots stinks, we don't take that away from them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I always use them. I love them. I mean, they're awesome. I'm glad they were there. But like SMU last year got that big jump by beating Pitt because they were both undefeated, or
That's
Pitt was
right.
undefeated. They were 7-0, and they beat Pitt's eyes out in Highland Park, and they jumped all those spots. And then Pitt didn't win another game the rest of the year. They finished 7-5, and then but we never took that. They stayed there. and they had to. So those kind of things in the college football system drive me nuts.
Pacers and Thunder tonight at 7:30. That's on ABC. And then your College World Series games today. There are two. Coastal Carolina, by the way, 2-0 on the other side of the bracket. The Chanticleers are riding in a pretty good shape right now, trying to get to the final. I like watching them play. I'm kind of pulling for them on that side of the bracket for sure. They beat Oregon State. Louisville survived, eliminating Arizona yesterday. So Danny Mack got him another College World Series win. And then today, Arkansas and Murray State at 1 o'clock in an elimination game there in Omaha. And then tonight, the game to get to 2-0, UCLA LSU at 6.
Yeah,
Those are
I'm
your
I'm conflicted today. I'm conflicted today.
one.
So because the two teams that I was pulling for are in an elimination game.
Arkansas and Murray.
Yeah, I want to see Van Horn win one.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, he deserves a title. There's no doubt about that.
yeah, want to see him win one, and then Murray State. I just don't know. I like the way they play baseball. I mean, like it's like this old school way. Like now, not all of them, but about 7 of them have like the old school flat swing path. Like we don't do the launch angle bullshit. Like
Uh-huh.
realize like here's what we're gonna do. Like, dude, their cleanup hitters batting like 370 and has no home runs. Like you got I love that. You know what I mean? He's got 80,000 RBIs, and they just go and they have 12 pitch at bats because they have a flat swing plane and they get their bats to the strike zone and they battle, man, and they compete. It's a good story. How's the and I'm sure they'll see every left-handed pitcher that Arkansas has to offer today.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I'm pulling for them. We had it was kind of a crazy deal. We were on vacation with my wife and all of our brothers, and we were all sitting there watching the game 3 of them versus Duke, right? And so it was like, I mean, everybody was invested. You're in for the story, and you want to see them, you want to see them do well. But you also want to see Van Horn win one, and they're probably and realistically, Arkansas is probably the only team that can hit
Come
their way
back
back,
through the bracket.
come back through, and with
They're
their depth.
probably they're in trouble though. I mean, that's just a tough road.
It's a
That's
it's a 14 region. They just lost. It's a region that they just lost the first game. So it's possible, but it's very it's tough. So what the and then LSU, I imagine, will be sitting there on the other side of them waiting on them.
I got a hunch. I like the Tigers tonight against the Bruins there. And did you see our
You,
Roccos had to close down early a couple days ago because of a fight?
I saw a little bit on social media. I
Yeah.
did. Is it a again? I don't know because it's social media, and so I don't know how much it was valid or not. But something about a Coastal Carolina and LSU shot contest. Is that correct?
Oh, is that what did, I don't? Is that what did it? Okay.
What I heard. I don't know. A shot
Okay.
contest. Rocco's. They got a little out of hand. Imagine that. Imagine getting in a shot contest with LSU fan base would not end. I mean, with any fan base,
Uh huh.
much less that one. I mean, that was probably
Ill
that was on,
conceived.
yeah, that was on brand. I kind of could have predicted that outcome.
See the chat real quick. See Drew rooting for Murray over Arkansas is the easiest decision of all time. Ryan, Dave Van Horn's body of work may deserve a title, but the Arkansas fan base 100% does not. A couple
Oh,
comments
come on.
there on that one.
They probably said the same thing about Ole Miss fans in 2022. I mean,
Well, I'm
I
sure
mean,
they did.
I mean, does anybody's fan base deserve a world title? I mean, come on. If it's not yours, it doesn't count.
In baseball, I do think fan bases that really support, they all should get one. I do. I thought State deserved a title. I thought Ole Miss deserved a title. I didn't think Tennessee deserved a title.
So they don't support their team?
So come on, you've been doing it like you didn't even know the sport existed before Vitello got there. I mean, like, no, give me a break. Crap. No.
So here's the question. All right, I got a
Uh-huh.
question.
Uh-huh.
If you had Texas A&M and Tennessee playing, who you pulling for?
What
You
sport
got
and
four.
what's the circumstance?
It doesn't matter. Just any
No, it
all
does.
sport.
No. What's the situation?
Football.
Just playing a random Saturday football game.
For it all. Playing for the title.
Oh, playing for the title?
Yeah. Who you got? Who you pulling for?
A&M.
Baseball.
A&M.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you're basketball.
I don't care as much. I mean, yeah. I don't
Pretty
know.
much, pretty much
No,
Tennessee is the
I
last
like
thing
Rick. I kind of like Rick Barnes. Tennessee basketball, probably. No. For some reason, I kind of pull for Rick Barnes a little bit.
because your despise for those two teams is always fascinating to me.
Is it?
Yes, it's
Why?
always fascinating. I don't know. I
Well,
never.
one's a cult, and one has maybe the most obnoxious fan base in America. So yeah,
I've said
it's.
this about Colts. You got to be careful about Colts now. You got to be careful. Everybody's got their cult thing, okay? And I'm just saying. I'm
I,
just
I
saying this on your. I'm just going to say this, okay? I me went to my son's orientation at the University of Mississippi a few weeks ago.
You did? Yep.
I did. My
Yep.
my my son going to the University of Mississippi went to his orientation, and within 5 minutes of me arriving, they instructed everyone, people I didn't know, to lock arms and sway and
Were
this
we singing the alma mater?
and singing the alma mater. And I was like, I've
Yeah.
worked here a long time. I've never even knew this song existed. I was that had some vibes. Just saying, it had some vibes.
Was that so?
Just
What
saying.
didn't Ole Miss have a year or two where the players sang the alma mater at the end of the game? Was that nut? I guess maybe
Wasn't me. I've never
that
seen
wasn't
that.
y'all.
And if it did, I
Okay.
was long gone. I don't remember those conversations. I was long into the locker room by the time that happened. I've never.
Do you remember the lyrics?
I don't even know. I couldn't. No. And then you get. Texas A&M's got their thing, and hey, Auburn's got their things. It's like every Alabama's got their things. I call it RTA, roll tide anxiety. You like they got to say roll tide to everything, and that one makes me feel uncomfortable in uncomfortable situations. It's like, sorry for your loss, roll tide. I mean, it's like it's very they say it in
Did you
very
get
uncomfortable.
more roll tides or more war eagles per capita in Alabama with people when you're
Oh,
just running into them?
lots of more roll tides.
Do you really?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Lots more roll tides.
Okay.
Uh, Auburn, like for me growing up, Auburn was always stepbrother in the state, and so you were almost until ironically, until Satan himself, Tommy Tuberville, became the head coach. Auburn had gone through. You had like Pat Dye, and then you had like
Mm-hmm.
periods that you could say, but for most of life,
Yeah, of course.
Alabama has dominated that series, and so everybody was kind of embarrassed to say they were Auburn fan until they started winning a few games, and um, and so you didn't have as much. So, but definitely in Alabama, it's 100%. I mean, I'd still say 85% of the people in Alabama are Alabama fans. It's not even close to
If you're an
50-50.
Auburn fan, you're most likely have some connection to the school. You're not the
Yeah.
sidewalk fan who just picked the school.
There's not it's a great way to there's not very many like Alabama, like 85% of the fan base never went to Alabama. They just lived in the state. And at Auburn, 95% of the fan base probably went to Auburn or had some kind of connection there.
When's the last time you chanted Bada Getta? What year?
So we didn't do that. That wasn't a thing.
That
You
wasn't
didn't
a
really.
thing.
That was just the only time you really heard that was at the game. So that wasn't
Oh,
a.
was
That
it
was
really? Okay.
yeah. That wasn't a thing. That's just something we like to say. That word I think gets Neil fired up for some reason. I think
If
that's just we didn't really that wasn't a chant.
what are you asking me, Chad? What, Chase? Are you serious? Bryson didn't make the cut. I just mean on a week to week basis, Bryson would challenge from time to time and create more whatever. Not about the U.S. Open, but just in general, live guys would create more competition on tour. It's math.
Yeah, everybody kept
Um,
talking about he was going to out hit the course, but I'm like,
no,
I had him in my fantasy league, so I don't know. I joined the crew, but that rough was a little bit more. And it wasn't just the rough; it was like the pin plate, short siding yourself every time you're in the rough.
mm-hmm.
Did you see the?
Tupelo, go ahead.
Go ahead. I said,
Go
did you
no,
see
go
the
ahead.
clip of Phil Mickelson like practicing where they put 10 balls like right next to the pin in the rough, and he couldn't get 6 of them out of the rough.
Oh wow,
He pretty good short game, so I
not
figured out.
bad. Pretty good hands.
Yeah, pretty good hands.
Tupelo Reb, you asked it several times. Siskey, if I set the over/under on Dart starting a game at .5, what do you got
I
this season?
mean, I think people got to get hurt. I don't think he's going to. I mean,
Did
I
more
think it's
than one person have to get hurt? Did they go to Jameis second?
depends on what the record
It
is at the
depends
time.
record, obviously. Yeah.
Like I think if they're competing in the division, I think he's had two people would have to get hurt. I think if it's late in the year and they're out of it, they're going to see what they got. And they may do that anyway if they're out of it. So I would say over, but it would either have to be somebody get hurt or they're going to be way out of it.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
think they're
with you
going
on that one.
to win games. Here's the thing that people got to understand too is like people are looking at it as Dart versus Jameis versus Russell, and they're not looking at it the right way. You got to look at it as a head coach and a GM that are on the hot seat, and what move makes sense for them, right? So if they're competitive, they're in the division and they're trying to make the playoffs, and maybe they're a game out or whatever, they got to go beat the Cowboys or they got to go beat the Eagles to get it in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's
No, he's
totally
not starting.
different. Yeah.
If they're 5 games out with 3 to play, they may start him all 3 and he have a great 3 games or whatever, so they can go, hey, look, we drafted this guy, we got the future
Future's
coming.
coming.
So it's all dependent on those. It's dependent on
Mm-hmm.
that more than it is the players.
Chad, you were right there. A&M, hostile place to play, but they get owned a lot there and they pipe down. Yeah, they lose more home games than anybody should, given the environment there in College Station.
Chad is coming from a very biased side. I know Chad. Chad's a Longhorns fan, so he's coming from a
But
very biased.
he's not wrong. They lose home games all the time. It's like we have this awesome environment. They just get their ass kicked.
Hey, I have gone there and won with Arkansas State before. How about that?
Oh, there you go.
I thought coaching college, this college thing. I mean, I had this coaching thing figured out. Went like 52-3 my last 55 games as a high school coach. My first game back as a college coach, took Arkansas State in the College Station and beat them. I was like, yeah, this coaching thing's pretty easy.
Ole Miss wrecking them up, and they're in 14 the week after the Alabama game, and like it just wasn't even a contest. I mean, that was a mauling.
All kidding aside, the noise there, it's loud, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy to function in because it's constant. It doesn't ever go up and down. It's
So
just
you adjust.
you adjust, and whatever it is, you figure out whatever from a snap count standpoint, and it's not like up and down as it is everywhere else. Like
Mm-hmm.
you get the most frustrating place to play is definitely Mississippi State for me because of the cowbells is very it's hard to function there. And then any stadium that gets loud, LSU, any stadium that gets loud, but they disperse their energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're Texas A&M comes out loud, but they just stay there the whole time. They never go up and down.
Yeah. All right, we will wrap it there. College World Series games today again 1 and 6. Thunder Pacers tonight 7-30, and then whatever comes baseball transfer portal here as the week moves on. So stay locked in for coverage, podcast. I know a couple more at least coming your way. Then I'll get this schedule for Blue Sky Live to you as I know it. I really don't right now, but we'll have some episodes this week as we move forward. So appreciate Tyler's time, and we'll talk to you again soon.